Across the country tonight, Starbucks has shut its doors. We'll give you a look at the anti-bias training being given to all of its employees. The primary election is 1 week away, but new financial numbers show how a local city council member is gearing up for 2020.
Hey, I don't have any money, and neither do you, and we should really be angry about this.
It's a crisis affecting 1 in 3 Californians, the inability to save money. Our latest California Dream Report looks at the rising cost of living. And Antiques Roadshow comes to Coronado. We're there for a behind-the-scenes look at the hit PBS show. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Tonight, thousands of Starbucks stores are educating workers on racial bias. It's the company's response after an incident in Philadelphia sparked a conversation on race relations in America. KPBS reporter Jade Hyman has the story.
We are going to learn from this, and we will be better for it.
Today, Starbucks is making good on words from their CEO after this video of 2 black men being detained by Philadelphia officers went viral. The arrest was made at the call of a Starbucks employee as the men were sitting inside the coffee shop.
What Starbucks is going through today is something called an unconscious bias or implicit bias training. And what that means is they are helping their employees see through training modules that we all carry around assumptions about other people that sometimes can impact our actions.
Ashley Virtue is with the National Conflict Resolution Center. The organization is also KPBS's partner in Community Heroes. They work with companies and organizations like Starbucks to prevent these types of incidents while increasing diversity and inclusion, an effort some San Diegans find hard to believe is necessary in 2018.
I wouldn't think you would need it in this day and age, but surprisingly, there's still people like that. So, I mean, it's good that they're training them not to be racially biased, but I think if you're a decent person to be working at this establishment, you shouldn't have to need that, but, you know, that's life.
Virtue says the reality is that racial biases are something many people have carried around their entire life and may not even be aware of.
It's something that you typically grow up with. It's part of your upbringing.
And now there are some people happy to see an attempt to correct a cultural ill with action.
I think it's nice and to show that people actually care about other people. You know, it's a huge problem we see in politics every day. So I think it's nice that they're actually stepping up and really putting themselves out there.
It is important for all different organizations and workplaces to look at this type of training. And it's not just corporate CEOs that need to go through something like this. It's not just companies who have a bottom line that they want to see met or to uphold their brand. It's government agencies. It's nonprofit organizations. It's those of us who may even feel like we've got this in the bag. We need to be constantly vigilant and aware of these types of trainings and always, always reinforcing these values of really having an anti-bias look at things and an inclusive look at things.
Jade Hindman, KPBS News.
ABC took swift action today, canceling the show Roseanne. The star actress apologized after sending a tweet with racist commentary about an aide to former President Barack Obama. Roseanne Barr compared Valerie Jarrett to the Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. After receiving criticism, Barr deleted the tweet and issued an apology. The sitcom's revival had been a hit for ABC until today. It was renewed for another season. Shortly after a producer announced she would quit the show, ABC's president of entertainment put out this statement. Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values, and we have decided to cancel her show. The voice of the San Diego Padres will take a leave of absence to receive a treatment for cancer. Ted Leitner announced the news this afternoon. The San Diego Union-Tribune reports Leitner was diagnosed with a cancerous tumor on his kidney last month and that it has not spread. It's official. There are now challengers in the races for 2 seats on the San Diego Unified School Board. The Registrar of Voters has certified Tom Kilinoy and Marcia Nordstrom as write-in candidates for next week's election. The Republican-backed candidates had to collect 200 signatures each to qualify. A third challenger, Loxie Gant, was 5 votes short and did not qualify. Voice of San Diego named Gant its 2017 Voice of the Year for blowing the whistle on alleged sexual harassment at La Jolla High School. In addition to the local and state races for office, there are 5 statewide propositions to be decided this primary election. Here's a rundown of what's being asked.
Californians have a lot of options when it comes to getting outdoors. There's 1.5 million acres in the state park system, visited by 85 million people a year. The state spends about $5 billion a year on programs to protect the environment, preserve natural resources, and reduce flood risks. Proposition 68 would allow the state to sell $4 billion in new bonds and use $100 million in existing bonds to fund a wide range of projects, including wildlife conservation and local and regional parks. In 2017, lawmakers passed SB 1, increasing the taxes on gasoline and diesel fuel. Proposition 69 would amend the state constitution to ensure that $5 billion of this new revenue is only being spent on transportation projects. California has created many programs to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases, including one called Cap and Trade. Some companies must get a permit for each ton of greenhouse gases they create. Money from the sale of these permits goes into a state fund. Proposition 70 would, starting in 2024, set up a new state reserve fund in which the allocation of cap and trade money would be put to a 2/3 vote in the legislature, instead of divvying the funds during the annual budget process, which requires a simple majority vote. Currently, most ballot measures become law the day after they pass. Proposition 71 would pump the brakes by amending the state constitution so that most of the ballot measures passed during the election would go into effect on the same day, once the state election office releases the official statement of vote, typically no later than 40 or so days after the election. Finally, there's Prop 72. Here in California, droughts and water shortages have become a major part of our realities. Under Prop 72, homeowners who install systems to capture rainwater to help deal with droughts and water shortages could do so without their property taxes going up. And there's your roundup of the propositions you'll see on your election ballot.
A week out from the primary election, and we are continuing to fact-check candidate mailers. One mailer from a candidate running for Congress is making bold claims about another candidate and his ties to Donald Trump. But are they true? KPBS's Jade Hindman digs into the details to find out.
So these are the mailers from Josh Butner. The subject of his attack is his opponent, Campa-Najjar. Both of them are running as Democrats for the 50th Congressional District. The words are next to a smiling picture of Donald Trump and Campa-Najjar. Butner's mailer says, quote, Campa-Najjar pledged to work with Donald Trump. He even defended Trump's Muslim ban and called it sensible, end quote. That mailer goes on to say Congress needs to stand up to Trump, not help him. We can't risk Campa-Najjar advancing more of Trump's agenda. The mailer referenced an article in Breitbart which cited an interview with The Hill. We reached out to Josh Butner's campaign to ask about his mailers and the allegations on them, but we received no response. You know who was responsive? Campa-Najjar. In a statement he sent to KPBS, he calls the allegations a deliberate lie, and his opponent, former Republican turned Democrat Josh Butner, desperate. In fact, we checked that Breitbart article Butner cites. It actually says Campa-Najjar, quote, noted several areas where he disagrees with Trump, including his temporary visa ban on travelers from 6 designated terror-prone countries. That's much different from the claims made in Butner's mailers. And that smiling picture of Trump and Campa-Najjar was taken back in 2015, while Najjar says he was working with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Also on the mailer are Butner's promises to fight for middle-class tax breaks, good-paying jobs, affordable housing, and stronger schools. right next to misinformation about his opponent in bold print. Jade Hindman, KPBS News.
Our election coverage includes a way to test your San Diego voter IQ. KPBS reporter Taryn Minto took the quiz.
The KPBS election quiz will help you learn what you do and don't know about the issues you may be voting on. The multiple choice tests ask about the candidates and ballot measures in the upcoming June 5th election, like how many candidates are running to replace a longtime Republican congressman, and which major city in the county doesn't have a measure on the ballot. See if you know the answers. You can find the 9-question quiz at kpbs.org/election. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
You can find more of our election coverage on kpbs.org/election, including candidate interviews and our KPBS Voters Guide. KPBS will also have special live coverage of election results next Tuesday night at 10 p.m. San Diego Councilman David Alvarez can't seek re-election this year, but his political career is not over. He's running for County Supervisor Greg Cox's seat in 2020. Alvarez has already started building his campaign war chest. iNews Source reporter Leonardo Castaneda has more.
David Alvarez has raised about $119,000 in his bid to replace Supervisor Greg Cox 2 years from now when Cox is termed out. That's more than some of the candidates running for supervisor this year have raised. Alvarez's donors are a diverse crowd, including developers, real estate investors, and a couple of his fellow council members. Alvarez says he started his campaign early because the South County district is so big. 630,000 people live there.
You really need to get out there soon so that people get to know you and get to judge you and get to decide whether they like you or they don't, or they think you should be their representative or not. And so no matter whether you raise a lot of money or you don't, you should be out there relatively quickly talking to people, letting them know who you are, what you stand for, and what you want to accomplish for that seat.
But Alvarez's early fundraising may keep challengers from joining the race. So far, no one else is officially going after the seat, but State Senator Ben Hueso, whose district includes much of the area served by Cox, says he's been asked to think about seeking it. Cox, a Republican, has held this seat for 25 years, and Democrats are eager to try to win the district, which has twice as many registered Democrats as Republicans. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Leonardo Castaneda.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, a new study estimates Puerto Rico's death toll from Hurricane Maria is far higher than the official count. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The San Diego grand jury is recommending something be done to ease overcrowding at local jails. The grand jury examined nearly a dozen facilities housing men, women, and minors. They found they were not in compliance with state-rated capacity figures and suggested the Sheriff's Department work to address the issue. One complaint was a lack of outdoor recreational space. The California Supreme Court heard arguments today over San Diego's pension reform measure, Proposition B. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says voters approved the measure in 2020.
Prop B was a citizens' initiative that eliminated guaranteed pensions for all new city employees, except police officers. Then Mayor Jerry Sanders was a key proponent of the initiative and openly stated he would seek pension reform through a citizens' initiative to get around laws requiring labor negotiations. The measure's proponents say they wrote their initiative independently and that Sanders supported them only as a private citizen. But city unions argue Sanders was the de facto creator of Prop B, and as the city's chief labor negotiator, he should have met and conferred with them. Chief Justice Tani Cantil-Sacauye seemed to agree.
He doesn't get to pick and choose which parts of his title and responsibilities he gets to disregard, especially when he's surrounding himself and symbolizing that this is a mayoral act. It's my strategy. It's my plan. I'm going to submit the language initiative. I'm mayor, but blink, blink, I'm acting as a private citizen. It just seems to me that he also has other roles that he failed to acknowledge in acting in that role.
The court has 90 days to publish its decision in the case. A complete reversal of Prop B could cost the city tens of millions of dollars. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Many Californians struggle to save. The state's notoriously high housing costs are gobbling up paychecks, leaving many on the edge of financial disaster. As part of our statewide collaboration covering the California Dream, KPBS's Amita Sharma has this report.
I have a budget that I have on like an Excel sheet that I budget how much roughly is coming in and how much is going out.
Panic usually sets in for Charlene Holkenbrink-Monk by the end of each month.
We oftentimes are negative by about $10 every month because we have to figure out how to pay for our rent, and then I get paid in the middle of the month, and then that goes toward the rest of our bills. Food, other expenses, gas and such.
She's employed part-time as a community college sociology professor and is working on a PhD in education. Her husband works full-time in culinary services at UC San Diego. He's also in school. Their combined monthly take-home pay is $4,200, which has to cover expenses for their family of 4, which includes 2 young children. Holkenbrink-Monk tracks how that money is spent. She says each dollar is accounted for, and this doesn't even include money towards their $160,000 student loan debt.
We literally have $0 in our savings account right now.
She has company. More than a third of California families don't have enough money to survive at the federal poverty level 3 months without an income, according to Washington, D.C.-based Prosperity Now. And there's a reason.
Clearly, California has a housing problem and has a housing affordability problem that's sucking out income.
Eric Bruvald is Chief Executive Officer at the San Diego North Economic Development Council. Since 2013, apartment rents have jumped 19% in California, and home prices have gone up 40%, according to Adam Data Solutions.
We have these escalating housing prices and then this really low personal savings rate.
It's the escalation of housing costs that Holkenbrink-Monk says have drained her of any hope of building a savings for a rainy day. She moved her family into a 2-bedroom apartment in San Diego in 2014 for $1,525 a month. Since, her rent has gone up more than $400. It's about to increase again in July by another $110.
I think it's pretty infuriating and pretty heartbreaking, especially since a part of that increase was they tacked on pet rent, a maintenance fee, administrative fees, and then they increased our water.
She says even with better jobs and a little more pay, she and her husband continue to spend half of their income on rent. University of San Diego economics professor Alan Jin says there's a reason the federal government recommends that people not spend more than 30% of their income on housing.
Somebody gets ill, your car breaks down, there's damage to your house, something like that, where you're going to need some money. And so in a situation like that, if people don't have any savings at all, then they're going to be in serious financial difficulties.
Holkenbrink-Monk knows this all too well.
We had one car break down on us, and we didn't have the money to fix it, so it's gotten to a point where we just don't use it. We can't use it. We're going to end up getting rid of it.
She says she can't borrow from friends and family because they're also struggling. Bruvald says that quandary is plunging Californians deeper into debt.
People go to payday loans or high-interest credit cards, and they get that taken care of, but that then further puts them into a situation where it's really hard to build up personal household income.
He says Californians who qualify as low income should take advantage of the Earned Income Tax Credit, but he says policymakers need to do more to encourage people to save. That may be a tough pitch without progress on affordable housing. In November, the state legislature passed 15 bills aimed at making housing construction easier and homes more affordable, something both Bruvald and Jin say was a crucial step. Holkenbrink-Monk believes Californians need to exercise their own power before there is significant change. She wants renters to speak up.
They don't want to get kicked out because it's too expensive to move anywhere else.
She argues, however, that is a trap that can be overcome.
I think we need to stop being afraid of talking about money, too, because it is such a stigma to not have enough money to pay for things. And I think if we kind of break through that, it would be easier for us to be like, hey, I don't have any money, and neither do you, and we should really be angry about this and start telling people that, no, I don't want to pay this anymore.
Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
This story is part of our statewide California Dream collaboration. You'll find more stories at kpbs.org. A push is on to make utility companies more responsible for wildfires. And the 2007 wildfires in San Diego County were caused by SDG&E power lines that were knocked down by Santa Ana winds. And just recently, CAL FIRE blamed last year's deadly fires in Northern California on a utility that didn't remove trees around power lines. A bill in Sacramento would require all utilities develop a disaster plan and turn off power lines that are at risk of being knocked down. A slight warm-up is expected later this week. Mark Mancuso has details in tonight's forecast.
Here's a look at our weather headlines for today. Another trough slipping into the area, and with that, a little bit of cooling again coming along for the ride. The marine layer, so the marine layer will be thickening up, so that means plenty of low clouds in the morning hours, melting away to the coast in the afternoon. We'll see some gusty winds in the mountains and deserts as well, but the trough lifts out, and we'll see a warming trend for the end of the week, right into the weekend. And it's pretty much a dry forecast here. Trough slipping through without much fanfare, not too much to be concerned about, just a couple of buildups here and there in the mountains, maybe an isolated thunder sprinkle or thunder shower. But most areas dry. Tonight, becoming cloudy. Here comes the marine layer. Temperatures drop into the lower 60s. So clouds hugging the coastal areas for tonight. And some of those clouds rolling into Oceanside. Tonight's low 60 degrees. Borrego Springs will be mild. And Mount Laguna, beautiful night. Of course, you go up in the higher terrain. Temperature is a little bit cooler. How are we faring for tomorrow? Waking up to clouds, but the clouds will be melting way back towards the coast. And there's our temperatures. Climbing to near 70 in Oceanside. Ramona at 74. Mount Laguna hit 67. Borrego Springs, hot, 96 degrees. Dry conditions continue here. Of course, no let up in the severe drought. We'll have to wait a while for any significant precipitation, especially with this weather pattern. The trough lifts up end of the week, and we stay dry, and the temperatures start to rise once again. So here we are at the coast. Clouds around the next few mornings, but we'll see brighter conditions and milder by the end of the week. Inland sections, some clouds next few mornings, and that will give way to sun, warming up by the weekend. As we take you up to the mountains, pleasant weather here, abundant sunshine. Nice warm up for the weekend, and of course the desert's sunny and hot. Not as hot for the end of the week, but temperatures rising for the weekend. For KPBS, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso. Back to you, Ebony.
Antiques Roadshow is wrapping up a day of shooting at the Hotel Del Coronado. KPBS Arts Calendar and Arts and Culture reporter Beth Accomando got a chance to speak with one of the appraisers.
I'm here at the Hotel Del Coronado where Antiques Roadshow is doing an outdoor appraisal, and I am here with one of the appraisers, Nico Lowry. So tell me, what kind of a day has it been?
It's been a great day, and it's only about half done at this point. In fact, the event is not just outdoors. We're also inside the hotel as well, and I think it's called the Crown Room, which is a beautiful old room. So it's a whole new direction for the Roadshow to go, not being in convention centers as we have been traditionally. So far it's been a great day. We're just sort of waiting for the sun to break through. I guess that'll be the difference between a really good day and a great day.
So tell me, what does an appraiser do here? What is your specialty? Do you have a specialty for this?
Yeah, we all have specialties. So my specialty is vintage posters. So I sit at a table with prints and posters, and sometimes maps come up and historical prints. And so we're basically evaluating all the paper that comes in. And it's a never-ending line of people who have great stuff. And earlier today, someone came in with a fantastic poster from the 1915 Panama, California exposition here in San Diego in Balboa Park. It was excellent, and we actually got to go on camera with it, so that was really exciting.
And what do you think it is about Antiques Roadshow that it has had such lasting appeal? What is it that makes it exciting for people to get their stuff appraised?
So this is really like the $64,000 question. Depending on who you ask, some people will say it's because I want to see the really expensive stuff, and that may be right for some people. Other people say I really want to learn about this material. And I think it's a combination of the treasure hunt aspect, the knowledge aspect. The one thing about the Roadshow that I think all of the appraisers agree on is that it's really smart TV. Like you can watch it and finish and actually feel good about yourselves and not feel you have to wash your hands or take a bath or somehow cleanse all the pop culture off you. It's smart television. It's great to watch.
And for you, what's the most fun when you're doing an appraisal in terms of, telling people something? Is it telling them that they have something that's really valuable, or letting them know about maybe the history of something that they have?
So, there's all different appraisals, right? So we're seeing so many people. Probably 3% of the people who come in today or less are actually going to be in front of a camera. The majority of people have very nice things that are so emotionally important to them, but euphemistically aren't worth the whole hill of beans or more. And so sometimes we have to have very good bedside etiquette, and we have to tell people that their prized family heirlooms are really worthless. And that's always a little difficult, but most of the time people really have a good sense of humor about it. They want to learn, they want to know, so even if we're not giving them the news that they want to hear, they end up taking it well. Not always, but most of the time.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm Beth Agamando, KPBS arts reporter here at the Hotel Del Coronado, and I've been speaking with appraiser Nico Lowry.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.